Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America online, thisweekinamerica.us. She's been called the horse whisperer for CEOs and forums, able to gently coax out deeper levels of discovery and achievement. Andro Donovan is a sought-after speaker, executive coach, best-selling author, internationally acclaimed leadership development specialist, working with entrepreneurs, CEOs, and other professionals to become more effective leaders by creating a strong sense of meaning and purpose. Over the past 25 years, Andro has assisted thousands of individuals, helping them gain greater influence, effectiveness, and perspective. Known for her life-changing retreats, which take place at exotic venues all over the world, she's the author of the bestseller, Motivate Yourself, Get the Life You Want, Find Purpose, and Achieve Fulfillment. Back with us on This Week in America, Andro Donovan. Andro, welcome back to the program. It is always great to have you. Looking forward to our conversation today. Thank you for being with us.
Hi, Rick. Thanks so much for inviting me. I've been really looking forward to it.
It's been a few months since we talked, and you've been really busy during those months, and something that we'll talk about in the program today. You've developed this online and blended coaching course, something you're very excited about, put a lot of research in, out there with it now. Talk about this, and then we'll get into some of the specifics. How did this idea come about?
Well, following the book, I've been doing quite a lot of work with top teams. And I've just noticed as I'm working with teams, there's always a kind of an ingredients, if you like, a magic ingredients or concoction that creates happy, motivated, successful and productive teams. And I started to chew over this and I thought, wouldn't it be great to create something that team leaders, CEOs could actually run with themselves, rather than them doing a massive corporate change program using tons of consultants. So I've been busy working out this formula and creating a blended course, which includes online, obviously physical workshops, but more importantly, passing on the know-how to the CEO or the team leader of the team so that they can create happy, healthy teams.
And you do that by focusing on four principles, four pillars, which we'll talk about during the course of the program. Information on the course you'll find at Andro's website, which is androdonovan.com. You can link on directly by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Who specifically will benefit from this course? Who have you designed this for?
Well, I've designed it with people who are senior and who take responsibility for the ethos of the team. So that could be a number of people, Rick. It could be a CEO who has a propensity for coaching the team, to holding that special space for them. That's not every CEO. It might be a CEO who has a member of their group who's quite emotionally intelligent and would like to take on that responsibility. Or indeed, it could be team leaders further down the line. It's also for external facilitators, consultants who work with corporates. So really, it's anybody who is running team coaching.
I mentioned the four pillars. Let's start by talking about alignment. That's pillar number one. Talk about the importance of that and actually this has come out of research by doing literally thousands of presentations over the years. What exactly is alignment? Why is it so important?
Well, in my experience, whenever somebody joins a company, they may, if they're lucky, be inducted or not, whatever the case may be. But if they are inducted, they're normally introduced to a set of values and a mission statement and a vision statement for the company. What is missing there for me is, well, where do I fit into all this? So part of getting aligned is for someone to ask me, what are your values and how do they dovetail with the company values? So part of being aligned is being asked about my own values and what I'm bringing to this organization and how I can actually embody some of my values and align them with the corporate values. Because that way you're valuing the person that's joined the company as well as accepting that they've actually brought to the party their own set of amazing values. So rather than sort of drilling into them the company values, this is a sort of gentle enrolling and asking them to get in touch with their values and get them aligned. Part of that is also understanding the purpose of the organization, the mission, and a number of other things. but it's a number of processes that help people really engage emotionally rather than feeling they're being done to or being told to do something, which we know never creates creativity and productive behavior.
One of the words you use a lot is common direction, common values, common vision. Talk about common being a key, meaning bringing us all together. This is something that we share.
Yes, I mean, in a set of and in a team, you're going to have a lot of common values. But maybe my take on honesty is slightly different to somebody else's. And I think it's very, very important when you're a top team, or indeed a team within an organization, that you have an opportunity to discuss the way you want to embody that principle. For instance, honesty for me may be that I bring to your attention when something isn't working, rather than talking behind your back. Honesty for somebody else may be, I'm honest about the way I live my life, but it doesn't mean necessarily I'll bring to your attention what isn't working. So I think it's very important in a team discussion to iron out some of those differences so that you're all singing off the same hymn sheet, but from a more organic level rather than just a set of truisms that are on some sort of mission statement and marketing material.
Andro Donovan, our guest on This Week in America, author of the book Motivate Yourself, Get the Life You Want, Find Purpose, Achieve Fulfillment. We're talking about the new course, Online and Blended, a coaching course that she's developed, and information on that at her website, androdonovan.com. You can link on directly by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. I'm sure you run across the person who thinks, yeah, we're aligned. All of my team is in alignment. And maybe they're not. What should you look for? What are signs that, yes, your team is actually in alignment? And the other side of that is when you realize they're not in alignment.
When they're not in alignment, it really does show up. For instance, in discussion, one or two of the managers may be disengaged, not contributing, at loggerheads with some of the principals, so they may be showing up late. Or they may be taking things very, very personally because actually they've got some sort of hidden agenda that is not being voiced. So there are a number of signs to show that someone is not aligned. It's in their energy, it's in their body posture, facial gestures, and probably with everything they actually say.
So a lot of these could be subtle signs you're really not aware of, and that's brought to focus during the course of this this presentation from Andro. Pillar number 2 is interesting. This is belonging. What do you mean? And again, why is belonging important?
Well, if you could imagine the moment you meet a new set of people and you're having to, operate in a team, you're working out. Do they like me? Do I fit in? Am I going to be valued here? Do they appreciate my contribution? And that's normally worked out with very subtle signs, sign language, etc. We don't ask directly those sorts of questions. So from having years of experience of working with teams, it's almost I don't pass go until I feel that the team have started to get to know each other on a fundamental level. And what's the best way to get to know each other? Share some stories. What sort of difficulties and challenges have you had in your life? What are some personal histories, that through knowing that about me, you'll understand what some of my triggers are or why I feel sensitive about certain things. And it's giving that team an opportunity to come away from their role, their title, whether it's HR director, marketing director, sales director, and actually go, well, who's the human being behind that? And it doesn't mean you have to tell them chapter and verse about every personal story in your life, but there might be 2 or 3 iconic moments that let you see me in a very different frame, and that creates bonding. And it also means that I'm talking to Rick, the whole human, rather than just Rick, the interviewer, if that makes sense.
Yes, and you've got a number of exercises you go through, and one is having people talk about the people that they admire. And I'm thinking that really tells us a lot about the person once we know somebody that they admire. That really opens up some doors there, doesn't it?
Exactly, because one of the things people don't realize, and I actually discuss this in my book at length around understanding what lights you up, is that when you find yourself attracted or drawn to someone in life, a role model, if you will, or somebody who inspires you, it's usually because they're portraying qualities that you have yourself, because they are a mirror reflection of the kinds of things you value. So, for instance, today I was working with somebody who's helping me with some digital marketing, and I asked him, who do you admire? He mentioned a chap, and I said, why do you admire him? He said, he's emotionally intelligent, very honest, and has achieved a lot in his young years. And I said, interesting you like that, because who does that remind you of? He said, who? Really confused. I said, you. Honestly, for a second, had to have a double take, because people are so busy diminishing themselves.
Yes.
Thinking of reasons why this ain't going to work, or why I'm not good enough to do this, or why I'm inferior, or not quite there yet. And they very, very rarely start to think about, hang on, what am I really good at? What qualities do I have? And I think this process helps them see it almost from the back door, rather than just giving them a set of values and saying, those are yours.
A very important component of that pillar belonging is safety. Why is safety so important? And you've got what's called a container of safety. Talk about that, because this really is crucial.
Yes, I think containers of safety are very important. This is at the beginning of a meeting. I'm not saying you do it to every meeting, but you may create a norm or a guideline around it, so that when we're about to do a 2 or 3 hour session, we might just spend a few minutes going, what's our container of safety? And that is, if you like, almost like a net that we put around this meeting. We may discuss confidentiality. We may say, in this particular meeting, I want there to be a willingness to take some risks. We're going to be talking about some very deep communications around, salaries. I don't know, but we create a container where people feel safe. And when we leave that room, we leave the container behind. It's a different energy, it's a different atmosphere. But in all the workshops I run, I always kick off every workshop with a discussion on how we're all going to feel safe today. What are our guidelines? What do we need to be observant of?
Andro Donovan, our guest on the program. It all starts with you, and motivate yourself, get the life you want, find purpose, and achieve fulfillment. It makes you take a look at yourself, and it's an excellent book. It's a bestseller, has been for a number of years. I highly recommend that. You can pick up a copy of that, as well as at the website androdonovan.com. We're talking about the course that she's developed, online and blended coaching course. It's all about creating healthy, motivated, and high-performance teams. Pillar 3 is breakthrough. Tell me about that.
Well, I think you'll agree that in life, everything can be going well, and then we get that brick in the head.
Yes.
And it could be a phone call. It could be someone died, a car crash, you've got the sack, I don't know. You've had some heavy feedback. A number of different things can happen to derail you. At that point, you're going to hit some barriers. And it's very important that people have the skills to emotionally decode themselves. To understand, what emotion have I hit? What are the thoughts and feelings going through my head? Usually that inner critic really kicks in at that point and starts to give us lots of evidence for why things are not working. And then how do you actually break through? And I think it's very important for management teams to observe this behavior in each other and help each other break through, so that they can admit mistakes. They can let each other know when they've hit a big barrier, whether it's just apathy, or whether it's pride or grief or anger, and understand how they can actually diffuse the negative of the emotion and actually channel it into something positive. And that's a skill that I talk about instilling in the management team, so they can not only help themselves, but help each other.
And pillar number 4, rapidly running out of time here, a few minutes left in the program, but pillar 4 is sustainability, resonance, resilience, and renewal. All those are crucial. Briefly, tell us the importance of those.
Well, teams always go through a lovely honeymoon period, and then they may go through a decline. And that could be that they've lost sight of the purpose and they need to have that reframed for them. Or they feel they haven't had a review or an appraisal for a while. They feel that their career has come a little bit into a plateau. And there's a number of processes I talk about and exercises that teams can do when they feel they've hit this wall. There's also a diagnostic which helps supercharge them, if you like, and make them readdress some of the areas that they've, lost sight of. So there's a number of areas that I go into there. And I forgot to say that there's always a diagnostic at the beginning to find out where the team are, and one at the end to go, where have we arrived and what do we need to address now, rather than just assuming everything's going to carry on, just having done some things once. You have to redo things and relearn things and reignite the team.
One of the areas that you talk about, and again, a couple of minutes left in the program, but I feel this is so important. You talk about the role of civility. It's the key to high retention rates. If you have incivility there, you're running a situation where it's quite negative. Talk about that just briefly and how we sense whether our workplace is a civil place, because if it is, chances are it's going to be more productive.
Yes, if you gauge that there's some sort of, do you mean toxicity? Is that what you're talking about in the team?
Yes,
or
yes.
Negative. It's very important that I, as a team member, can blow the whistle and talk about the elephant in the room. Otherwise, I conform to that toxicity and I simply do not generate results. But if you want people to really create results and be productive, you've got to allow them to be real. You've got to allow them some authenticity and a space where they can speak their mind without feeling they're going to get the sack or somehow derail your power. Good CEOs will allow that because they understand that it's the power of the team. Doesn't all come through them. But so many companies do not give people that permission. It's kind of implied, but it's not real.
It's always an interesting conversation and always goes by way too quickly with Andro Donovan, our guest on the program. Information on the coaching course is available at our website, androdonovan.com. Information on the book, a bestseller, Motivate Yourself, Get the Life You Want, Find Purpose, and Achieve Fulfillment. Books available wherever books are sold, and information as well at the website, androdonovan.com. Andro, as always, it is a pleasure. Look forward to having you back on the program. Thank you so much for being with us on the show today.
Thank you, Rick. You have a lovely day.
Thank you. You as well. And once again, our guest is Andro Donovan. The website, androdonovan.com. You can link on directly by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. And we're back on today's program right after these messages.